Assalamu alaikum everybody, come on in, it's time. It's all going to be inshallah very good podcast today. But first, we need a simultaneous sip to get ready for this awesome episode. And all you need is halal liquid of any kind. I have my coffee. Miriam, you have what?
I also have coffee.
Coffee, beautiful. Join us for this unparalleled pleasure. The dopamine hit of the week, things that makes everything here in the studio and at your home much more enjoyable, more peaceful and relaxing. You know, that's what we are all after. Happiness, joy. So it's called Simultaneous Sip and it starts now in 3, 2, 1. Bismillah. That's beautiful. That was good. So Miriam, how you been? How's everything going in your life?
Going well, alhamdulillah. Getting through the end of the semester.
How many more weeks? What's the...
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Oh, that's good. I know some of my students that I'm teaching, they're just having their exam very soon as well.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on these days in the news? You are not following? I actually am working on a few things. So I removed most of my application from the phone so that only time I get the news is when I actually log in fully on in my computer, trying to just keep all of these things to the minimum.
Did you want to tell us what projects you're working on? And
Yes. So one of the things that I try to focus is working on my new master class. And I felt I need full focus to figure this out. So I'm trying to put everything I learn about Islamic finance and economy and leadership into one course that is dealing with strategic leadership when it comes to Islamic finance and economy. The critical question is, what is your role in that? What are you going to do? What's your purpose? This is the engine of economy. Us people, I don't want to name any particular country or a city, but look at many Muslim countries that are very advanced in terms of the wealth, very rich, centers and hubs of Islamic finance and economy. The top countries in the world congregate there, have their shop, have their presence, top universities. So we have money, power, institutions, everything at the highest level. What does it do? How many startups, research and development comes from there? Very little. So why is that? With what mindset do these people come? Mostly what they come is to sell somebody else's product to us. So it's a big shopping center. Somebody else invented somewhere else and they're going there to sell this. Inshallah, soon I'll put some details on my own personal website. So if anybody is interested in that kind of thing, they'll find the details soon on my personal website. But anyway, this season we're talking about livelihood and we discuss the book. But, you know, I don't want to constantly just go by the book. So I go off the book a little bit and then get back into the classical thinking. So just to make it a bit more mix and match. And sometimes what I discuss with some people during the week inspires me for the episode. So I have been discussing with some of these investors and often idea is, what do I think about this stock or that stock from Shariah-compliance or general just business discussion? And I don't give financial or business advice where to invest it. I just sometimes with some of my close friends and people that I know, I don't have time for it. Plus, it's not legally sound that I just give random advice like that. So I don't do it, don't want to do it, not interested. But with some friends and colleagues and investors who I know for a while, I bounce back some of these ideas. So one of these guys, he's investing in some of these stocks with his brothers and looks to be well off. So there is a larger sums of money, some serious portfolio and investment is happening. So they give me a call from time to time. We just go through some points. So he called me just again a couple of days ago and we were having discussion, which I thought maybe I should repeat some of the discussion that I had with him and might be interested with some of our listeners. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Islamic principles of investment. Now, this is a topic that is huge. We'll get some people that I will pick more into the depth, how we screen the stock and some other things, people who have done some serious work in this area and from investors and so on. But I just want to give a sense of how to think about it. And often I remember my teacher, who I remember when we were studying fiqh, he would tell us the best way to learn something is by some principles. So if you want to learn something, you will learn some principles. And that's why I'm trying to always come up with the principles so it's easy to remember things. So when we think about investing in the stock market, we are talking about, in my mind, 3 groups of people. One is what I call speculators, and then 2 types of investors, which is one is follower and leader. 3 groups of people. So shares, we're talking about shares. What is the share in your mind? When you think about shares of the company, what are the shares in your mind?
It's a part of the company.
Part, yeah. So they represent what?
Percentage of the company made public.
So when you say the company that was made public, what does that mean?
So it's been placed on the stock market so you can invest in it.
So there was a, what they call initial public offering. So somebody created a company, then they list some of these shares on the stock market. So first time when they offer it, it's called primary market. And then secondary market is when me and you buy those shares after they listed them in stock exchange. And you are right, they represent part of ownership in the company. And so as owner of the shares, what do you get?
Dividends.
Yeah, so what are dividends?
Dividends is when the company makes money, you get the portion that you own, you get that much return.
Where do these profits come from?
The activity of the business,
right?
The legitimate activity that the business does.
So business, for example, sells something, products, cars.
So it sells cups. And spoons. Then you get the dividends from their profits.
Yeah, so they pay their staff and whatever. And then there is something left over.
For the shareholders.
For the shareholders. So basically, proportionately, if you own, let's say 1%, you get 1% of whatever they are distributing. Okay. As a general rule, there's nothing wrong buying and selling these shares as a part of your investment strategies. However, when we are thinking about the companies today, mostly companies are mixed bag, because these companies often they would be involved in interest or maybe some activities that are not Sharia compliant
or illegal.
You wouldn't be necessarily illegal, listed company specifically. So when you list, you are legally doing business. You are declaring everything. They would require certain governance, how the companies run. You need to satisfy some requirements. And the reason for this is so that you disclose everything. You have set up certain processes. So investors who is investing, everything is disclosed. What you are doing, what kind of company is this. Once you start putting these in shares out, people buying, they know what they're dealing with. So it's very regulated. Because these shares are mixed bag, a lot of different things are happening inside. There is very unlikely, let's say in 99% of the cases, that company will be Sharia compliant. So you have 2 types of companies. One is Sharia compliant type of, and you have Sharia-based. Sharia-based type of a company is the company that starts with the owners whose idea is to make Sharia or halal business, like Islamic Bank. Like, for example, when me and my friends start a business, we want everything to comply with our faith. So that's what we call Sharia-based. Starts with that idea to be halal. Now, Sharia-compliant is any other business that starts and it happens to be some farmer. He never heard of Islam selling the milk. Okay, you come along and say, okay, this is Sharia compliant business. So even if you tell them, your business Sharia compliant, they don't know what it means. But it happens to pass. Milk is halal. You understand that? So based versus Sharia compliant. Now, Sharia compliant businesses, all kinds of businesses. And then you have non-compliant businesses, which is something is from the core of their business goes against Sharia. What could be that? Give me an example where...
Interest, maybe.
Right, so interest, like in the banks, yeah?
Yeah, like they take a loan.
So this is what we call first type of a filter, which is qualitative filter, which is the core business is something against Sharia. Something against Islam does not want. So as you said, any kind of financial services, insurance, anything to do with interest, riba, you would screen out. For example, a supermarket, I don't want to mention names in general, but like, let's say you have a supermarket and they list themselves that one of the core aspects of their business is selling liquor. So that automatically goes off. Okay. Now, you could have a situation where they pass that filter. So they are compliant. Let's say, give me example of a Sharia-compliant business.
I don't know, mowing the lawn? Gardener?
All right. So I don't know how many of them are listed, but there are. Jim's mowing. Is that big enough? Is it listed? I don't
Jim's
know.
group. It's not just mowing. They also do your car, everything.
Yeah.
That Jim's group.
All right. So Jim's group. So let's say type of business like that. In that case, you look at them and you say, okay, these guys, I don't know. Let's say they, for argument's sake, they have a lot of cash. Business that I was thinking was more about mining. Mining it's a permissible business, but what problems they have is they have a lot of cash, which they keep in their banks. They generate a lot of interest from that cash. So you look at that and you are thinking, all right, we have the core of business, which is permissible, but we have what we call incidental income, which comes from other activities,
but not primary.
That are, not primary activities. You might have, I don't know, couple million.
Yeah,
sitting around, and then, some interest accidentally comes. So what do? You give it away. Right. Now, these guys don't give it away. So if you are getting this kind of income, you try to sort of screen it out. This is what we call quantitative screen. So quantitative is more like numbers. So there is some accidental or incidental income coming. But in the number filter, you might have certain other issues where company is highly leveraged, meaning they have a lot of debt. In these kind of number-based filters, you're looking how much debt they have. Let's say a company that sells the mobile phones. Permissible, but they might be highly leveraged. Comparing their debt to equity, to how much the company is worth or market capitalization or whatever the number we are using, you say, okay, they have a lot of debt. Or it's a type of business that is getting a lot of money coming in, receivables and so on. So they might have a debt or a cash or receivables, and all of these kind of assets, they start shaping the value. So there are certain calculation and screening methods where people are looking how much of that now starts to become a problem. Like people would put different kind of filters. And we'll go into the filters. But here is what I was saying to my friend. I said, look, most of the stocks will be either this clear as a business, it's not permissible for us, or they will be mixed bag. I see some people have some apps and programs, and then they screen, and then they say, this is now halal, or these are Sharia compliant. So if you look at these companies, you will find that it could be 10 billion company, they got 2 billion in interest-based loans. It would pass the screen, for example. I often think the way this is done, it's very controversial. And again, we'll go into these things maybe later on. But what I was trying to explain to my friend, you as a business person, the way to think about this, the way I think about this is not this is now becoming halal just because it passed some test. It's still a large component is interest-based loans, some haram. It passed some filters because we make these filters, but doesn't make stocks halal now. The game here with the stock market is you need to compare and to think about it in the following way. Why am I buying this stock? There is a mix of halal and haram there. It passed some filter. Okay, so I'm buying it. But that is only bought in relation to some other opportunities that I have to invest in. So for example, you have $1 million. What do you do with the $1 million?
A business that I think is profitable. I think real estate is pretty good, pretty safe.
Yeah. You might have a same problem. Maybe that property is being leased to certain companies that are not good, or, like everything will have some issue. So what you are looking for, and this is just a basic level thinking. I have two choices, let's say. I can put it in this, let's say, real estate or shares or something, and there is a mixed bag there.
Yeah.
Or I can keep it in my bank account. Either you put it under your mattress, which is a very difficult task, or you keep it 100% interest-based account, or you're trying to find something that is profitable with the least amount of problem, with the least amount of. And so the thinking is more like you didn't screen and create now these as a halal investment. That's wrong name. They are not halal. Mean they're halal. You understand?
Yeah.
Like when people say, "Oh, when you are hungry, you can even drink a wine and stuff." Now, wine, they say, "Oh, become halal." So, no. It's still haram, but you can use it to save your life. But we don't say this is not halal investment, halal drink, and you just do the minimum to survive. So here you have a situation where you have nothing left, and then you are choosing the minimum problematic investment. So you go from 100% bank interest to something that might have 10-20% of debt from interest and some other things. Again, depend what kind of problems you come up with. We were then discussing some specific companies. What I was trying to explain to him, I gave him an example. I said, look, imagine if vegan goes and they have their own investment portfolio, they want to invest. And they go to McDonald's. And McDonald's is, I don't know what exactly vegans can and cannot eat, so I'm just now wildly speculating. Let's say, I don't know, can they eat chips? Let's say they can eat chips. I don't know, I have no idea. But let's say that kind of a school within a vegan school of thought, and you go, okay, so the chips is permissible for them. Ice cream is soft drinks. I don't know. Okay, ice cream maybe. No, I don't know. But let's say this is some version of vegan, whatever, some kind of vegetarian / something. So let's say vegetarian. So they eat ice cream. They eat in the morning breakfast, which is eggs and toast and soft drinks. And so they find out McDonald's is 80-70% veggies, sweets, soft drinks, and only 30% is meat. So would a vegetarian / vegan think McDonald's is now halal for their investors? Or would they think, no way, look at that, they still maybe 30% meat, but they are slaughtering so many animals. So they would run away from it.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's similar when we are thinking about some of these filters where 30% is interest-based allowed and passes these filters. Okay, it's a similar kind of thing. Oh, it's just 30%, which is riba, which is war with Allah, but it's only 30%. And it's not a problem because valuation of these companies, it's $100 billion, but that's only 30 billion it's in interest, from that valuation. You understand? So it just doesn't make sense. So that's why it's very important that we think about what we are doing when we are engaging in the stock exchange. This is those things that you just hope you're not going to be sinful, held accountable, and you are engaging in the least problematic shares. This friend of mine, then we went kind of discussing one of these stocks. He was investing in one of those buy now, pay later apps. Idea was that app was charging merchant fees. The whole model was you buy now and pay later, but they get their profit from merchant fees. And so I told him before, when he called me a couple of months before that as a business, I'm ethically having a problem with these kind of businesses that encourage that, putting young people in more and more difficult situation. And so I told him that I have a problem I would not put myself in. But then he thought, okay, so this is a business model that is kind of Sharia compliant, let's say, at least technically speaking. So anyway, I told him, look, why don't you research exactly how they make money? Where is the money coming from? And then you can think about it later on. Let's think about later on. And so he went and he found out that beside merchant fees, they have some other revenue where they charge interest. And they also borrow a lot of money to finance these operations. I told him, look, you are a business person. You should know more about business. These rules to screen the shares and how to, these are not rocket science. Anybody can learn them. I just told you have quantitative filter, qualitative filter. Is the business Sharia compliant? How much problematic things are there? And then you look at it. Just because something is at 29% of something problematic and then it becomes 31, like we are worried about 2%. We should be worried about 29%. And so when you see that stock, you should be thinking, okay, here is the business that borrows 100% on interest, buy now, pay later. It is problematic in terms of consumerism and a lot of issue that come up in terms of flogging of a debt, especially to younger people. And we have a large component of it now being interest and other hidden fees, late fees, and so on. So I told him, you simply need to think about these things in a sense of, would I be comfortable to be a partner in this business before you even enter into this arrangement? Not just this filter, does it pass this filter or not? As if that puts me off the hook. And I could sense in him, he's trying to put me in a position where I tell him, no, it's okay, or not, I told him, I'm not going to put my neck for you. What you need to do is you need to think for yourself. Forget the filters. You need to think about, do your own research as a business, as a serious investor. This is the business that I'm partnering in. Do I want to be part of that? Does it sit okay with me? So based on that, as I said before, you could have three kind of investors. One is a speculative investor, which is a person who buys and sells in very quick terms. He's just following the price. So the price go up, he sells, price go down, he buys. Just following the price signal, and they do what they call technical analysis, and they're kind of predicting movement patterns and stuff like that. They're trying just predict these other speculators what they're going to buy or sell. People ask me about day trading. I say to the people, it's not something that we as a Muslim should be involved in. Again, I'm not using halal and haram language. I feel that is a sort of a gambling lifestyle. You buying quickly and selling quickly and all, just constant turnover of everything as inventory. And so I feel that when scholars are addressing this topic, they often think about like places like market in Medina where you would buy something and then you sell it and somebody would use that. So in that sense, buying and selling is not a problematic. But buying and selling inventory is part of entrepreneurial cycle. Somebody produce this spoon, I buy it from the producer, and then I sell it to the consumer. So my buying and selling, my intermediation is connecting buyer and seller. One who is producing it and another one who is consuming and using it for something. Or when I'm exchanging, let's say, money in the market, I'm fulfilling a role where somebody needs that money to go and buy. Tourists come or somebody come and they need dollars or whatever currencies, and then I help them to sort of purchase, again, to be participants in the economy. But once you have a closed loop where me and you between ourselves constantly back and forth, consider the group on some app or somewhere on the application or platform, the group of people come not to derive the benefit from the performance of the company, but just between us constantly selling back and forth between ourselves. Let's reduce that speculative market to two individuals. I sell to you, you sell to me. I sell to you, you sell to me. I sell to you, you sell to me. Constantly. And somehow we are making money from that. That's useless first work. So it's just constant betting. So that is a different trading than trading in a market where the asset is being consumed and used and goes into the economy. Here, we just created what in Islamic finance there is a concept of bail-in, which is you replicate with a trade something that in general wouldn't be allowed. Like bail-in is when I buy and sell something on credit and get it in on the spot in cash. In this way, back and forth purchase of asset is not seen anymore as trade because you created now interest-based loan. So this is backdoor riba, we say. The similar effect to gambling can be replicated by this trading back and forth. Okay? So in my mind, when I see day traders, speculators who are selling back and forth, it reminds me of bail-in transaction. It does not create true riba. But what it creates is a gambling situation where you are betting just on the price. You are not benefiting anymore from underlying activities or anything real anymore. Whatever the views are, mine is more closer that this is gambling, but I know some people allow it, and that's fine. I don't agree with that thinking. This is not trading. This is a closed circle, just gambling. The second thing is people who buy as a passively on the secondary market. The other night I was in one group discussing, and they're talking about buying in secondary market as if you are supporting the healthcare or whatever, the company you're buying. In reality, that company has nothing to do with you and your money once it's in secondary market. Nothing. No, that doesn't. Money doesn't go in their pocket. They're already up and running. Nothing to do with them. It's secondary market. While that has benefit in terms of liquidity for the primary market to kick in and people to originally invest in, that's all it is, really. It's a very passive, it's very follower type of investment. So you buy something, you pick the least problematic, all right, you generating profit from underlying activity, you are investor, long-term investing, but you are follower, you are not the leader. The leader is one who is thinking primary market and before. This is real leadership. In primary and earlier, you are actually directly putting your hand in the company, your resources, your wealth, and you are actually creating something and employment and product and services. That's where the real leadership is. So these are my three categories. You have speculators who are absolutely doing nothing in the market and they are living gambling lifestyle. You have then followers, investors who are just buying something on secondary market, no real impact, that doesn't have any impact to anything, just you holding something already done, already we baked the product, it's already there, okay, you get some dividends. You buying now Apple stocks is not encouraging more mobiles to be sold. Nothing, that's independent of their operation. So don't think you are on the cutting edge. You putting money into somebody who is thinking to start a company like that, that's where real leadership is. My advice to that brother was, think like a leader. Because you are now a very sophisticated guy, a lot of money. Start putting your portfolio into something that you can put your hand in and you can grow in. And that's what real leadership is about. That's, if I can remember correctly, that was my main idea, that we should be not just takers, we should be givers, job producers. And that's that whole idea of strategic thinking that I said in the beginning, being upper hand, having the courage to step up, to do something. It's a big thing. You need to slowly build that. So I think that is very important to build when it comes to our investors. And somebody said, it was like a meme or something, they said, you need to make a choice, to take a chance, to make a change. So you make a choice that you will take a chance on something, and that is when change happens. Really, leadership comes down to this taking a chance, and through this, change happens in the economy that we want to see. All of our ideas come to this, having a high impact in our economy. That's my little thing for our listeners today. Subscribe to our updates, to our social media, our Telegram channel, and we'll see you next week. All the best. Assalamu alaikum.